Hello, hello. This time we are live.
I hope we're live.
I hope so. Successfully live. So nice to see so many of you joining again. We got a second chance. So welcome, welcome. Thank you. And thank you for coming back. So we are very happy to talk with you about problem framing. And this time it's going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be so much us talking and presenting, although we have a lot of slides.
So I don't have to present anything. That's good.
But we do have some questions for you, and we'll invite you to type in the chat your answers. You're going to see it's going to be easy. It's like a thinking process because we want you to think with us and kind of share our mindset when we have to deal with complex problems with our clients. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. This will be around 1 hour. We are going to talk about problem framing and the problem framing canvas. Alex, our colleague here, is going to help a lot with the chat, sharing links and information, and also ask you to write questions if you have any in the Q&A section. What else? Yeah.
So it's going to be 1 hour. We hope. We hope.
We'll have to speed up at some points because we've done more this time, just because last time it didn't work at all. So this time we're pushing with quite a lot of information towards you, and hopefully you'll find it useful at the end. This will be recorded, and you'll be able to find it by using the same link. So if you don't have time to watch it right now, you can watch the replay whenever you please.
Or share it with your colleagues afterwards, and we both work.
Yeah, whatever you want to do, feel free to do what you want. We are very chill today, and our only stress is to finish on time and cover everything. So I just clicked on something I shouldn't, and I'm hoping that you can see my screen. Maybe Alex, you can give me a heads up, because John, can you see the screen I'm sharing?
Yes, it's all good.
Okay, awesome. Good, so welcome. What's the plan for today? For some reason, it's working. We're gonna cover 2 topics today. The first one will be to talk a little bit about the creation of the problem framing method, especially for those of you who are not familiar with it, and how that ended up being synthesized in our problem framing canvas tool, which I hope you all got. And if not, there's a link at the bottom, and you can get it right now. So it's so you have it. We have templates in Miro, Mural, and also a PDF template. And the second part of this webinar, we are going to walk you through a real-world example of how we use a client challenge and went through all the stages and the thought process leading to a final problem statement. So we tried to remember as much as we could from that specific project, and hopefully it will make sense for you, and you have something relatable in your experience in that topic, in that. For those of you who don't know us, we are Dana and Don Petan. We are the co-founders of the Design Sprint Academy in Berlin, and we've been doing this design sprints and problem framing for quite a long time. So much that we got a chance to work with really nice companies with amazing teams, and also travel the globe and train lots of people on these methods. Basically, what we do, problem framing and design sprints, we facilitate this type of workshops when our clients have to tackle a big challenge or do not know how to start framing the problem. And we also have our own training program, which is a 5-day bootcamp with different modules based on the needs of the people. If you want to learn design sprints, if you want to learn problem framing, or if you want to go into advanced design sprint facilitation, is very focused on design sprints. And if you want to become a facilitator of this type of workshop, we've got the perfect program for you, and we know it because we've been doing this for 5-6 years already, and 7 memories here. So, and we've got really good reviews. Another thing that we do, and this is new, introduced last year, we do innovation events. Basically, these are like hackathon types, We run 3-day design sprints with many teams on the same time for different challenges in specific innovation events, different corporations, and with the help of our tools, to really make this very efficient and successful type of event. Now, you must think, okay, so much praise, so much positive things, and the important part you need to remember is that we didn't start here. This is like the end, or hopefully not the end game for us, but we started at a very low point. We started by getting stuck, and here's where John has some more storytelling to do. Click stop sharing, so I hope it's going to work on your side.
I'm trying to share. So that was a quick intro by Dana, and now I have presented something, so let me see how this works. Let me see how this works. Obviously, we tested everything before, and it worked well, so...
Yeah.
Yes! That's the only stress that we have today. It's how the tech works. So as Dana said, this is where she told you where we are today. We're running trainings, we're doing workshops, we know problem training, we do design sprints, but it's not always been like this. And I want to just give you a little bit of background on how we ended up doing these things. We started back in early 2000, being the digital product studio, and then as hundreds of thousands of digital product studios, what we would do, we would build products for startups, helping them get their first MVP to market. And our setup is just as usual. We had our designers, we had the engineering team, and swanky offices in which we all work. Pretty standard. And our process, we wanted to imagine our process like this lean diagram you see here on the screen, where our customers have an idea, our great team is building it, and then we're launching in 3 months. That was our target, launching MVPs in 3 months. And then they learn from it, and voila, they had this great business. So I guess everyone in this space is familiar with this diagram. And of course, we would kick off all of our projects with having team meetings, different type of team meetings. We would meet with our clients. Our designers would have their own team meetings. Engineers, they would have their own meetings. I think you can always almost notice something's off here, because although like we were not this huge studio, we're still working very much in silos, which was the first sign that something's not set up as it should be. Anyway, we started working, and this ideal process of ours looked something like this. Can I show it? Yeah, because our clients got excited, and they were throwing more and more features and requested us, and we would build them. Our team also had more and more ideas, so we would implement those as well. So that nice round shape became in most of our projects this sort of oval shape, and a project is supposed to take 6 weeks, it will take 6 months, or even in other cases up to 1 year or more. And obviously that was not good. That was not good for our customers who were not launching things on time. The products ended up being this sort of bundle of Frankenstein features that was not very clear what they're doing. And obviously, it's all of the misalignment, going over budget, being late. I mean, I think you know what I'm talking about. So, and that wasn't just one occurrence, it happened repeatedly. And that's why we thought, like, okay, we're stuck again. So then what should we do? We search different things, and I'm not going to take you through the whole story of how we search for solutions, but what I can say, like at one point we discovered the design sprint. The cover of the book is misleading, because at the time we discovered the sprint, the book was not published. There were articles by Jake Knapp. So we did find the book and say, oh, this must be good, because the book presented itself as a shortcut that companies like Google take to move from an initial idea or problem to getting a solution, a prototype, something tangible in 5 days. So like yes, that's something that's good for us. So we just because we're so lean ourselves, right? We put it into our deck, we added it to our services, we created our own version of design sprints, and then we immediately ran our first design sprint with a client. It was exactly 7 years ago in January 2016. And it worked, and we actually launched the prototype, the MVP, not the prototype, the MVP of this customer. We launched it in 3 months after the design sprint, which was a record. Not only did we launch it on time, but it was exactly what they wanted and what customers needed as well. So we felt like, yes, finally, a process that works. So we started doing more and more design sprints, and then we realized, wait, not so fast, because we were very early in the sprint process, and larger organization saw the benefit of this process. So we started to work with larger organizations instead of our typical startup customers. So yeah, traveling all over the world, trying to help them with their design sprints, solving challenges. So it was very exciting, but that being said, the larger the organizations, the more complex the challenges. First of all, you don't have a founder or two, you have multiple stakeholders, sometimes they don't know of each other. That creates a lot of misalignment. The stakeholders have debates, there's power battles between them. Obviously, lots of assumptions flying around. Everybody's got their own idea. Everyone's driving an initiative or doing something. Politics play a big role here. I shouldn't mention bureaucracy. We were not aware of how much bureaucracy can be in a big organization. Different business units having their own objectives, and then everything, like we're working on these big challenges. If we were to implement any of them, or if they were to implement any of them, that would pose high risk to their business models, and then that's why everyone wanted to preserve the status quo. Nevertheless, with every project, there were huge expectations that this design sprint will change everything, will lead us to the next innovation, which maybe it was a little bit too much. And finally, although like I'm not sure why this is the last bullet point, maybe because it's the most important, less customer centricity, or maybe I should say no customer centricity in most of these organizations. So all of a sudden, we realized that design sprints were not enough because they were not addressing all of those pitfalls I just mentioned. For example, which 7 people out of 10,000 out of the 10,000 people company should bring in sprint? They have 100 problems. Which one should we work on? So the sprint itself, it was not enough in large organizations, and then we felt like, okay, now we're stuck again. We just discovered this beautiful thing, and now we're stuck again. So what do we do? I was like, we're on our discovery path. Like, since we discover sprints, we can discover a new method to get us unstuck. And we said, first, we need to make sense of the context that we're in. Whenever we're starting a project within one of these large organizations, we just need to use our common sense and make sense of what's going on. And for this, we use this tool, which is Cynefin. I'm not going to go through the whole framework in detail because that would be a topic for a training, but I'm just going to give you an overview so you can get a sense of how we're using it. So Cynefin, that's a framework, it's a sense-making method, and it helps stakeholders identify or make sense of the context that they're in. And it helps us as facilitators do the same thing. And basically what this framework does, it helps you categorize challenges, problems, call them however you want, opportunities, based on the relationship between cause and effect. So you see here, we're trying to go to the root cause, not only to look at the symptoms. And like very quickly, this would be the 4 categories. You have first obvious problems, your known knowns. Here's the relationship between cause and effect is very clear. Everyone can see it. When you have a problem in this space, the solution is obvious. Again, everyone knows it. That's why this is the domain of best practice. So very predictable, very stable type of environment. Easy one. And then another one would be, the next one would be No, the other way around. Okay. The other one would be complicated problems, and complicated problems are like simple ones. They might have multiple right answers, and in this case, the relationship between cause and effect you can still see, but you can't quite put your finger on. That's why when you're trying to solve a complicated problem, you need the help of experts. That's why it's saying this is the domain of experts. To give you an example of a problem like this, think about a car going on a highway, smoke coming out of the hood. Obviously, you can say something's wrong with the engine, but you don't know what exactly. In order to fix it, you need an expert to bring your car to the car shop. So that would be an example of a problem in a complicated space. But now, when the right answer is not quite clear and you must base the decision on complete data, your situation is probably more complex than complicated. The good news here is that at least one solution, at least one right answer exists. However, the relationship between cause and effect is not clear at all. Actually, you can only see it in hindsight after things have happened. Um, and this is unfortunately where most of the business problems today are. They're complex. You don't know what's causing them. You don't know what the solution is. That's why finding a solution requires a lot of experimentation, trial and error. See what works, see what doesn't. Good. And now the last one would be chaotic types of the chaotic problems. Here, searching for the right answer would be pointless. Relationship between cause and effect is not clear, cannot be determined. Usually, natural disasters or different type of disasters fall into this category. Your server room on fire, for example, would be a good example of this. So yeah, these are the four main categories, and we'll see in a sec how we're using them. There's one more in the middle disorder that basically means that people generally they don't know which of these domains apply, so they're just always going with what they're used to. So let's see some examples because I think it's going to make a little bit more sense. I'm going to show you some problems, some challenges, and then I'm going to ask for your opinion to tell me in which of these quadrants they fall. All right, so let's see. Let's see the first one. So you need to type your response in the chat, just like type obvious, complicated, complex, chaotic, depending on what you think. All right. Is there a way to increase audio quality? Maybe. Is it better now, Martin? I hope so. We're going to get better with the next ones. But I hope this is better now. All right, so let's see the first one. This is one of the Google random design sprint in our office on this challenge here. How can we improve the engagement on our landing page? So what do you think? Which of these domain applies? What type of problem is this? Is this a simple, obvious one? Is it a complicated, complex, or chaotic? Just please type in the chat. Let's see. What do you think?
There is no right or wrong.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong. Just write in the chat. Complex, Gabriel. Okay. Obvious, says Rogerio. Maybe complicated, complex, obvious, complicated, complicated. Okay. Chaotic. I like that. All right. So these are good answers. Again, there's no right or wrong answers, and actually you can treat problems through the lens of each of these quadrants. In our case, we think this is a pretty obvious problem. Why? Because we feel there's a lot of best practice on how to increase engagement on landing pages. There are a lot of existing solutions you can leverage. So we felt that it was just a matter of using best practice. But then again, it can be treated as a complicated one as well. How about this one? This one comes from Disney. It's not something we work on, but their challenge was how might we use the homepage to reflect the channel's personality and structure. right, for different types of audiences.
Yeah, imagine like a channel for kids, other for teens or teen movies, or like just like Netflix has different channels depending on their audience.
So let's see, complicated, Sandy. Yes, obvious. Okay, complicated. We think it's obvious and complicated. We have these two answers. We also thought the same, so we put it at the intersection between obvious and complicated, because yes, of course, you might have previous best practice or solutions, but then you could use some experts as well to do it in a different way. It's not such a simple and straightforward problem, so it's at the intersection of these two. By the way, just look at your answers and see how different they are. I mean, something obvious or something complicated. That's exactly what happens with a lot of stakeholders in the real consulting projects that we work on. They're on the same page, they're not aligned. So only having this conversation is a step forward, helping them get some alignment. And I think I have the last one. This is coming from an online, again, I'm going the wrong direction. How might online newspaper, how to use the homepage for readers to discover new content? One thing. Fabian, I'm going to answer later to the questions. Let's see, this is the last one. What do you think? Obvious, obvious. Yeah, obvious. Right. Okay. I like how confident you are with that. Yes, we would say pretty much the same. It's obvious. Maybe could be a little bit complicated, but it leans towards obvious.
Because it's a lot of newspapers have a lot of very important information they need to put on the first page.
All right. So looking at these three challenges now, if I'm asking you on a scale from 1 to 10. How confident would you feel? I'm assuming I have a lot of facilitators in the audience or people running workshops. How confident would you feel about running a design sprint or a problem-solving workshop on these challenges this next week? I see 9 here, so quite confident, very confident actually. 8, still very confident. 7, okay, it's going down now. Okay. 8, 9, 10, Gabriel. 7. All right, so I don't see anything under 7, which means you feel pretty good about leading the team through a solution. And I think we would feel the same. I think I'm in the same opinion as you are. Unfortunately, these were not the challenges we had to sprint on.
Never.
Never, almost never. So we had different types of challenges, and I'm just going to show you some of them. So this would be the first one. Of course, we changed some of the things, but we kept the challenges. How can we add 3D scanning as an option step in our current product flow while optimizing the user engagement? This was one of our clients trying to go into metaverse, and they already had a very successful, well-established product which was used worldwide and for configurations. And now they wanted to do this 3D metaverse scanning. What do you think about this challenge? Complex, obvious, chaotic? Obvious. Okay. Yeah, complicated slash complex. I know why it might seem obvious. Yeah, it's where is it? Yeah, we felt it was quite complicated because at first glance, okay, it's just adding one more thing in a flow. What would be so difficult about it? So it might look like obvious, but we wanted to do this using a new technology while adding more things to the flows while optimizing the user engagement. So it was quite complicated. We needed experts to figure this out. But this was the one. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Okay. The other one is we worked with a video game company, and the challenge they had was to optimize and standardize the way they run live operations and what they mean for their products. That's like, this is a copy paste, so don't.
What's important is to mention is what live operations are about. They're like, the thing is that operation managers are responsible to develop new content, materials, or engagement ways so that you can keep players in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to standardize what live operations mean across the company for different games, no matter what, and no matter who plays the role of an operation manager. So we did have that context. So that being said, where would you place this one? Complex. Exactly, you're right, Gabriel.
Gabriel felt almost like chaos at one point, but yeah. So
Complex.
let's review this. Yeah, we put it I think in between complex and complicated. That's kind of where we feel it's going to go. And I think we have one more. Two more. Okay, this one. How about this one? Like, again, copy and paste. Open banking one, we work with a bank on a mortgage, on their mortgage business. And then this is what they wanted to achieve. Open banking enabled customer product friction reduction.
That's our brief.
That's our brief. Usually that was the brief. Copy and paste. So yeah, you can see some context on the screen, but that was the brief going into this project. Chaotic. I mean, if you feel like it's chaotic going into this sort of topics, because at first glance they don't make any sense, but this would be a perfect example of something that's a complex problem. As you can see, they get more and more interesting. The challenges that what does it even mean? That's right, Brian. What does it even mean? And sometimes our customers don't know what they mean. It's on some sort of a deck that has a strategic direction, and that's something we need to deliver on. And that's the brief. And then this is where we take it from. So there are different starting points of problem framing processes. And I'm almost done with my presentation.
You're back to.
Oh, I have to learn this. And then the last one would be something like this. This is from a chemical business, a global chemical business, and then we worked on this project in 2019, so 4 years before this, and say we want to conceptualize the future innovations of our pump spray business for launch in 2023 and beyond. So again, this was very much about strategy. You feel like you understand a little bit what they want, but where do you even start with that? It's yes, the answers are good. We think this was a very complex topic. Almost we did it towards chaotic because that's where you can move into really radical innovation. But yeah. These were the type of topics that we have to deal with regularly. So that being said, how confident would you feel about running the design sprint on these challenges next week? So some people are 7 still.
Please join our team. Bring some confidence over here.
Give us some of that confidence. I'm really curious how you build that sort of a confidence. I need to learn that as well. With most of these challenges, am I going the right direction?
I don't know what
with most of these challenges, we're about 2 because we don't know where to start. So we need to get a little bit more. Of course, we trust our process, we trust our capabilities, but generally, it's not enough to get to a good result, no matter how good you are as a facilitator when you're dealing with so much ambiguity. Because these challenges are complex, complicated. There's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of ambiguity, and then in most cases we have high stakes, high pressure. So these are not 6 month projects. All of our clients, they want a result in a few weeks. So generally, deliver this project 3 to 4 weeks. And I would say in all of the cases we had misaligned stakeholders, even when they said they were aligned. As we got into the project, we realized how misaligned they were. So yeah, that's kind of what we deal with on a very regular day-by-day basis when we do this sort of problems. We needed a solution because design sprints were not enough. Design sprints are just for problem framing, and that's why we developed the problem framing method. And just to give you a very quick overview, it's based on design thinking, so nothing new here, but this is a workshop in which we involve senior decision makers to understand, define, and prioritize complex business problems, just like the ones that you've seen. Going through all of those 4 steps that you see there, contextualizing the problem space, and justifying their own business needs, bringing in the customer perspective, we have a typo there, and then ending up with a very clear problem statement. That's something that we've been doing since 2016. We even trained Google's own Sprint Academy on problem framing in 2018 in San Francisco. And then a lot of our customers embed problem framing as a method in their decision-making process or in their innovation processes. So they can always focus on something that's worth the investment, like always looking at the root causes of the problems, not just symptoms. Also, as you said, Brian said, what does it even mean, these kind of challenges? With problem framing, we manage to reduce complexity and increase your confidence. I mean, some people already have it, we don't have it, so it really helps us increase our confidence as we are facilitating and leading this project. And then problem framing can eliminate a month of stakeholder meetings because there's so misaligned in one day of problem framing. You really can replace 3 to 6 months of meetings easily. Especially because you're bringing the customers in front of your stakeholders and they're not making just decisions based on bias or assumptions or whatever it is that they make decisions on. Good, so how do we start? And when I say how we start, I mean you as a facilitator, as a consultant, leading the team of decision makers, of stakeholders through this sort of project. And the answer is you will start by making sense of that challenge, of that topic, of their idea on your own, starting the problem framing process. And this is where this canvas will really help makes sense, and it will help you because it will actually give you a way to structure your thinking, to reduce the noise because you have so much information from all over the place, organize your thoughts, and kind of gain clarity of where you want to bring the team. I know I've been doing quite a lot of presentation. Dana has about half of the remaining time to take you through how we use the problem framing canvas in a real project that we've done a couple of years ago. So I think I have to stop sharing.
I can do this.
Yes. That's Miro. Yes, we can see it.
Awesome. So let me see if I can use this. So you probably you need to start, when you talk about problem framing and the challenges, you need to start where we are. Sometimes it's an idea, sometimes it's a business challenge, sometimes it's just a question, or sometimes it's a business need, or just an assumption.
Or a solution sometimes.
Or a solution, or even a drafted solution. Mm-hmm. And everything sits in this cloud of context, right? Because you need to look, okay, if we have this idea, does it relate to our business objectives? What's the context that we're in with this idea? What data do we have? Who are we going to help? What's our target customer, the segment or the market? What is our competition doing about it? So you have to look at all those things in order to frame your idea, your problem, or whatever you are. Nothing works like in your bubble, or in just like, I just talked with my team, or I just talked with my stakeholder, and this is what we're supposed to do and how things work. So you need to be mindful of this. And this is basically your high level view, where you start. With problem framing and with this canvas, we are trying to zoom in and to go in more depth and be more granular. Because when you are at this level, most of the time you can't really articulate a problem, or you're not even sure if it's a fact or an assumption. You don't know where to start, and you might have stakeholders saying different things. And the best way to break it down is to zoom in. And we suggest two perspectives, the business perspective and the customer perspective. And we suggest having them like leveraging them in an equal way. So half of the time and half of the attention goes to what the business wants, and half of the attention and the structure and everything that you need to collect what the customer perspective is and what the customer needs. Now you're probably familiar with the canvas. I'm just going to give you a walkthrough to see how it basically connects. So you have this idea. It's just a sticky note, and it should be enough to put in there like what your business need is, or solution, or idea. It's your starting point, wherever you are in the process. And then we have those two things, business context and customer context, right? They're like at equal length, and they have basically equal space to look at them and understand them. And at from each perspective, you need to look at different things, like what's the present, like what's the context that you're in right now? What do you know right now at this point about this idea problem? What has been done in the past by your company, by your colleagues, by other team, by other business units? What is the need for the future? So how is the future going to look like from the competitor's point of view, from the trends, from the legislation, from, I don't know, how the world is changing, because all the time there's something new. And what's like in a nutshell, what are the business needs? What are the business goals? And try to connect them to your company OKRs, or to your quarterly goals, or whatever is there in your strategic plan. So you need to have this business perspective quite clear. And you're going to see that this is easy. Like this part is the easier part, easier part. But then you need to shift your attention to the customer context, like really define who is your target customer, who are those that you are going to help with your idea or to solve the problem. And try to really figure out when, or what's the moment in time when they would need your solution, or when they struggle with the problem. And how are they solving their problems today? Your biggest competition is this one. If they already got a solution, that's what you have to fight with, because they're already used to it, and people find it hard to change their habits and try new things. So find out what behaviors they have, what is that you can see, and how they are solving it now, because probably they found something, and your idea should actually be better, much better. So again, we're looking at the past, so we're looking at the present, we're looking at the past, what have they tried in the past, what worked, what didn't. Again, we're looking in the future, what are some trends that are going to affect their needs. And we're also going to look in a negative way, like if something changes, how will the future look like for them? Like try to imagine them struggling with the same problem, I don't know, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and try to picture that future, because that's where an opportunity could be. And really try to figure out why would they need your solution? Like why do they need this? What's their underlying? And once you have these things laid out in front of you, putting it in a phrase should be easier than before. It's still gonna be a lot of assumption, and it's still gonna be probably a little bit vague, but you're still one step forward than you were before, and you'll know what's missing. You'll know what you don't have, what information about your customer you don't have, what information about their current behaviors you don't have, or the past things, or what they need in the future. All those things you will not know, and it will become clear to you. And once you have all those things in front of you, you'll be able to fill in a proper statement. But let's go a little bit into more specifics. So we change a little bit the data here, so we don't recognize who we are working with. But let's imagine that, so the data is true, the context which is not exactly. So if you were a fashion brand, you might start here. This is a challenge that the customer came with to us. They wanted to give customers, which they call makers, the opportunity to renew their products regularly, having access to exclusive offers to customers' products in an affordable way, while joining a community of like-minded people who care about sustainability and reducing their personal I cannot say this word.
Environmental
Impact. Now, this is kind of a solution. It's already at the level of idea, maybe a little bit drafted, and once you start to inquire about the present context, like what is it, how does this solution or idea connect to what, you'll be able to find out inside your company if you start asking some questions. Hey, this is part of the refresh project. There might be multiple problems and opportunities in this project, and what the company wants is to validate either through a design sprint or something else, if people will act on their sustainability values with the help of subscription model. Because this is the idea, right? What if we make a subscription model and we give it to people who really want to be sustainable and see if it works? Will they use it? Will they care about it? Is it something that's good for them? So this is what you know, like from the perspective. You also know that makers are your main customers. Let me see if I can zoom in. Now, they're like fashion collectors. There are people who care about the brands. There are people who care about the items that they buy. And right now, they're becoming more conscious about what they're buying. And they're starting to reject the constant cycle of buying new things. I'm just going to buy this because it's hype. I'm going to buy it because there's like a queue at the store. I'm just going to go with the hype. So they're trying to be more unique, and they're trying to be more specific and more sustainable, like in their mindset. What comes from the data, and you're going to see that you basically discover that in your company you have this type of research. You have customer research on their beliefs and attitudes towards sustainability. You have customer research on their current behaviors. You have research on the business model and the future trends, and you also have a research on what the competitors are doing right now in this field. And you also have previous initiatives. You have access to those and you can get them. So it's important when you try to understand your context to see what assets is it that you have, so that you connect them to your problem or your idea. Support and buying is another thing you need to look at right now. It needs to be confirmed, not really sure. Maybe you have a stakeholder on board, not really sure about the team. You just know that you have this refresh project where many things can happen, and this is like one track that the company has an idea on, you might validate.
So just one observation here. In most cases, you'd be tempted to just go and run a design sprint on a subscription model, and that would be a mistake here, because that's not necessarily solving the problem. It's just a solution someone has presented the team with. So that's why we went to this whole process, because we didn't just want to go, okay, let's do a subscription model and just test it.
Especially when you do have customer research. It would be a shame not to go and look at it and see, hey, what do we have on this topic? Okay. Sorry?
No. Okay, go.
Now, this is our context. Let's look a little bit in the past, and you might discover that, okay, there are some initiatives that work really well. If you ask your colleagues or you ask other product managers or whoever is part of the refresh project, and you find out, okay, there are some things that work well, and you also find out why they work well. But you're also gonna ask, okay, why did it work so well and why didn't? And here you might find out that, well, we have many initiatives, but we lack strategic vision, we have no focus, we have no long-term vision, we don't have a dedicated implementation team. So you get to find out a lot of barriers from inside the company why this type of project or this type of idea didn't get implemented until now. And again, depending on what questions you ask, you might find out lots of things. Now, you need to also look into the future. What are our competitors doing about it? Now, right now, when we talk about sustainability, competitors are thrift stores, not so much the other brands. But if, again, we look at the other brands and we look at the research and we look at people saying the research, they are really love their brands. And in the research, customers are saying, well, if the brand X is telling me buy this, I'll go and buy it, which is very interesting thing to know and to be aware of. You also might find out that your competition remakes their bestseller items from recyclable materials, and this was getting them to be on top of where they are. What are some trends working against or in favor of this idea? Well, you have a lot of things going in favor because we're talking about sustainability, and it's like very important in those times right now. What are some opportunities? Again, you're kind of making sense of what you learned above, and you can see, hey, if we do something about it, we can change the status quo, or we can future-proof our brand and things like that. So you really see how that all those information that you gather until now could impact, or you could frame it in a better way. Most importantly, what do you want to achieve? So imagine this happens, and the design sprint is successful, and the memberships project will work well. What is it that you're hoping to achieve? You might want to make sure that you activate inactive consumers. Of course, you want to make more money, sell more stuff. You want to find maybe new ways to relate to your consumers and be closer to them, increase brand equity, and all kinds of reasons. I'm not going to go through all of them, but as you can see, there are many ways in which you can frame and you can describe what you want to achieve. Good. So with the business, kind of easy. We have the data, you know who to ask, where to ask. Let's look now at the customer context. So who are those customers? Makers, you already know because this is how your company operates. You know that you have this persona on the wall, you know who the makers are. Mostly they're 22 to 30 years old passionate people. They do know the major public brands and they avoid instability, they avoid changing them. They also buy from this brand and they do have a social media following. So they have a voice when it comes to fashion and what they represent. Now, when and where do they need our solution? Well, from the research, as luckily you have it, for them it's difficult to engage and act upon the topic of sustainability. They feel impotent and unable to make real change. They don't really know how to make fashion sustainable or how to make purchases sustainable. They keep their confidence when the ethical purchase consequences are not tangible. They keep their intent to change when there's a pessimistic narrative. So nothing is going to work. No matter what we do in the sustainable world, nothing is going to work. They're really affected by that. So how do they solve their problems today? Well, they don't compromise on design. So even if you tell them something that's super recycled and super nature friendly, but looks ugly, they will not buy it. So design still is the main factor. They buy things that reflect who they are. They do consider purchase through the lens of resale value. They buy things that last longer. They get rid of stuff by reselling to family, friends, and so on. So they do a couple of things that they feel, well, they are in the sustainability area. Good, perfect that we know that. Now let's see what have they tried in the past. Well, they tried to invest in durable items. They turned away from fast fashion. They keep their the items in good condition so they can have it for a long time. But what obstacles do they have? Well, they feel stuck in their uber convenient lifestyle, which encourage constant consumption, and have maybe bad attitude towards secondhand clothes that are not so hygienic, or somebody has worn them and they won't reflect their personality. So you might find pluses and minuses for each of their behaviors and how they are looking at things in the past. Now, what are some trends and changes that might influence them in the future? Well, in the research, amazingly, we have this very strong mindset that has to do with subscription. Exactly the idea that you're trying to validate your design sprint. Research says that 60% of them regularly like to try new brands and experiment with their style. So they always want to change and do new things. And again, a big percentage of them don't want to be tied to a place due possession, so to the items that they have. And they believe that subscriptions take away this autonomy and the freedom of choice, and it leads actually to even more consumerism. So it goes completely against the idea that they
completely against what the business wanted.
what the business wanted. And we already have this to the research. So this was like a big what? Look at what we have, and we didn't look at it. But when we talk about sustainability and this opportunity, how can we have makers? Of course, there are things that will help in the future and might influence their opinions, like the fact that 81% will invest in items that will last more than a season, and people want to learn more about environment and impact and things like that. If nothing changes, again, we have a picture of how things will look like for them. And again, now we are ready to look at what they're trying to achieve and why would they need our solutions. Because right now, they feel they don't have power, and when it comes to sustainability, they have no idea what to do and how to do it. They feel guilty about their choices and don't want to be just plain and common. They feel that items are very personal and they want to be unique and show to the others who they are. Now, having all this in front of us, gathered from our stakeholders, from interviews, from the research, we are much closer to basically putting everything together and creating a problem statement. And now we can say makers have the problem of finding unique and long-lasting items when they need to. So our solution, this is the value for the customer, will help them enhance their individuality and feel good about making a positive impact on the environment. And also, it will help our business to open new revenue streams and gain new market share. Now, if we look at the problem from this point of view, it's completely different than how we started with new subscription model that will make customer come back. So we have a different perspective just because we went step by step through this thinking model.
And this different perspective opens up to different solutions. Good. So I think now I can answer some of the questions. I see some in the chat. I'm just going to start with the simple one. What's the difference between problem framing canvas and the problem framing workshop and training? I think this is the question I'm answering now. The problem framing training is teaching you how to do a problem framing workshop. But the problem framing canvas is the tool we start using at the beginning of a framing process. It helps us as facilitators just collect the information that's existing, see what gaps there are, and then we're filling it in as we progress through the problem framing process. The last piece of the problem framing process for us is typically a problem framing workshop in which we put this information that Dana showed you in front of the stakeholders, and together with them, we help them align on the final problem statement or problem statements, because typically the outcome of a problem framing workshop is multiple more clear problem statements. So I hope that clarifies problem framing canvas is just a tool helping us as we go through a problem framing process. Good. Next question, I like this one. When in the complex round, what's the rationale for arriving to a simpler problem formulation framing instead of holding and embracing complex constellations like challenges? Would that imply moving complex challenges to the complicated or even the obvious quadrants? So the way we're looking at it, it's not necessarily having a simpler problem formulation, but rather a more clear one. I think that's something that we're trying to achieve. So we're trying to make to make complex. I'm not sure if simple is is the right word to use here, because our challenges are still very complex. We try to bring clarity.
To break down
Yeah.
obvious problems, basically.
But-
Because a complex problem, it might be
Too big, too big. So when we're doing the problem framing process, we take these huge, big, complex challenges, and then using information like the one in the problem framing canvas, we're breaking it down into more digestible, clear opportunities under it. So that's kind of what we're doing. Some of them will maybe fall under the obvious quadrants, because all of a sudden you can say you're looking at a small problem and say, oh, we already have solutions for this and we can address it like this. But some of the components, some of the chunks you end up of the problem framing might still be complicated or complex problems that you need to run experiments to find solutions or bring in experts. So it's not always going to take it to very simple, obvious problems. But the idea is take something that's complex, big, that has a lot of ambiguity, break it down into things that have more clarity, and you know how to approach solving them. So that's kind of the answer I can
yeah,
give
from
now.
zooming out to zooming in.
This is interesting. When human beings are included inside the boundary, could that be an obvious challenge? I'm not sure I fully understand this question.
It doesn't have a context.
Yeah.
Without the context, we are on 2 on the confidence scale. So do share more.
So yeah, I would need to ask more questions about it. Like, what do you mean by this? Is it when we're labeling people to be like a persona, as we did in this case? It's a maker, and we already put them into a boundary. Usually, obvious challenges are the ones where you have an obvious solution. So sometimes,
And there are best practices.
And there are best
so you know for
practices.
sure there is a best practice out there, and if you deploy that, it's going to solve it. That's an obvious solution.
Anonymous. What do you do when you don't have any data as asked for the problem framing phase, like user research? In most of the cases, what we do, we get it, meaning we're showing stakeholders, hey, we look at the canvas, we don't have anything, going into a workshop right now wouldn't allow us to make meaningful progress, because we would just work with the assumptions in the room, and it's very hard to change someone's perspective, especially senior stakeholders, when all you have is other people's opinion in the same room, maybe equal power stakeholders. So that's why in all of the cases before going into problem framing, we do get this data. And it's surprisingly how easy you can get the buy-in once you show them what's missing. But you cannot go and say, I don't have anything, or we don't have enough data. But like once you go through this problem framing workshop, you'll be able to pinpoint what's missing and why you need it. So then it's easier to make the case for it. You're welcome. That's not something good. Will the recording be available? Yes.
Still
And-
in the same thing, so if you come back here, you can watch. Right.
all right. So we're good. Did we answer anything? Is there anything left? No. So I think we're on time now. The recording is going to be available. We're going to come up with more information about problem framing, but we just wanted to give you a little bit of insight on how we're using this in real projects and how a case study looks like. We're actually using it now in a very challenging project, our confidence level. I don't want to say what our confidence level is, because I think the client is on the call, so so I don't want to say it right now,
But we can do it.
but we can do it. So, oh yeah, and Rafael, thank you so much. By the way, if you have more questions, if you want to engage on topics like problem framing, design sprints, facilitations, workshops, join our Design Sprint Masters community. We launched it last week, 2 weeks ago. It's 150 people strong right now. Really good facilitators and consultants in there. So just join the conversation.
And that was it.
That was our problem framing session today. I'm going to let you go frame some problems, and we're going to say bye until next time.
Use this canvas wisely. I'm sure it's going to help you at least uncover what you don't know, which is amazing. You can see the gaps, and it's like one step forward and then forward.
And thank you so much for the comments. And if you have any questions, feedback, or something for us, feel free to get in touch. Thanks so much. Have a good evening or day onwards. Bye-bye.
Thank you.